Hello everyone, my name is Daily Manhwas and welcome to another video. In this video I will be recapping this manhwa called Zombie King. I hope you enjoy the video. This story begins with the fall of Shin Kong City due to the outbreak of a new virus called the T sequence. To investigate this virus, the Ministry of Defense sent a virology expert and 13 soldiers. Currently, it had been a week since the initial outbreak, and according to the news, the virology expert and the 13 soldiers had been eliminated by the zombies. But in reality, they were still alive, though now only 7 people remained. Our protagonist is Yinan, who was carrying his younger sister, Kayan, on his back. She was the only human unaffected by the virus, and Nan wanted to extract her antibodies to create an antidote to save humanity. The building they were in was invaded by zombies, and the remaining soldiers began to fend off the zombies. A girl escorted Nan to the rooftop. She told him to use the zip line to reach the other building and then head to the Kangjong Bridge, where the entire army was waiting for him. Nan used the zip line, and on the way, his little sister asked him why he had left everyone behind. He responded that they had all sacrificed themselves so he could live. Upon reaching the other building, they encountered a horde of zombies. Nan picked up an axe and began eliminating the zombies one by one. Afterward, his little sister approached to ask if he was okay, and he assured her not to worry as these were only low-level zombies. Now that they were in this building, they needed to go down to the first floor using the elevator, then avoid the zombie tide and make their way to the Kangjong River Bridge. Once they reached the bridge, they would be safe. His little sister, Kayan, gathered her courage and told him that he could use all her blood to save people. As long as she could save many people, she was willing to sacrifice herself. Nan told her she wasn't going to die as he had sworn not to let anyone harm his little sister. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the soldiers managed to eliminate a group of zombies. The authorities were planning to send bombers to destroy City F along with the survivors because they couldn't risk the T virus being exposed. After several minutes, Nan and his little sister arrived at the bridge and all the soldiers began aiming their weapons at them. He thought it was a misunderstanding, so he told them he was Yinan, the virologist, and had brought back a live sample of the T virus. He was confident he had found a cure for the virus. According to the leader of the soldiers, the T virus infection would attack him within 3 hours. They couldn't wait that long to verify if he was really infected, and the little girl with him wasn't even wearing a mask. He'd rather kill them by mistake than let them go. Kayan approached Nan and hugged him. A helicopter approached, and the soldiers told him that, according to the information they had obtained, Yinan had died a week ago, and according to the new legal rules, anyone stepping onto the bridge would be shot on sight. The soldiers first eliminated Kang and then Nam. Everything that had happened had been broadcast live by a drone. This transmission had been seen by ordinary people and government advisors. One of the advisors told the others that Nan had the cure and was not infected, so there was no need to eliminate him. The others disagreed, as he had stepped onto the bridge, and according to the new rules, all survivors who came to the bridge had to be eliminated to prevent the virus from spreading. Upon hearing this, many of the advisors voted in favor of eliminating Nan, and due to this order, the soldiers ended his life. They then destroyed the bridge with explosives to prevent zombies from reaching the other side. The next day, crows began to devour Nan's body, but at that moment, he woke up and all his wounds began to heal. His hair changed from black to white, and he was confused because he didn't know how he was still alive despite having his heart torn apart. He quickly concluded that it was thanks to having the same blood as Kayan. Looking around, he saw his sister's body on the ground and quickly approached her to check if she was also alive. After physical death, corneas turned white, pupils dilated fully, but in contrast, Kayan's pupils remained clear and there were no signs of decomposition. Despite this, she showed no signs of life. At that moment, a passing soldier in a car mocked him for not being able to find someone to bite and left, calling the city F a ghost town. Nan heard what the soldier said despite being far away. Among the debris, he found a cello case and placed his sister's body in it, then headed to City F. That same evening, the government told the citizens that there were no more survivors in the entire city of F, and due to this, the city was going to enter a complete lockdown. An elderly woman began to cry upon knowing that her daughter was still alive and there was no way to save her. Meanwhile, a zombie's body fell into the sea, and a fish fed on its flesh. Not far away, some teenagers were camping on the beach. According to the news, the 4-star consortium was going to lock down the entire city and then explode it into pieces to eliminate any remnants of the T virus. Since the virus couldn't spread in the water, one of the teenagers entered the water to catch shrimp using a net. In City F, Nan planned to head to the Gemini Building's laboratory to find a way to save her sister. First, he planned to acquire some weapons. Along the way, he found an axe and used it to eliminate one of the zombies. The zombies began to search for the culprit but didn't attack Nan, as they thought he was one of their own. Afterward, he went to a weapons store and obtained several weapons. Meanwhile, outside, a group of survivors began to eliminate the zombies. While they were fighting, a zombie bit one of the men. The man turned to his boss for help, but instead of assisting him, the boss pushed him into the horde of zombies and escaped with the others. As they fled, they saw Nan coming out of the weapons store. When they saw the color of his hair and his eyes, they knew he wasn't human. So they waited for Nan to get a little further away to attack him from behind using a bow, but just before the arrow could hit, Nan heard the sound of the attack and dodged it. The leader of the group asked Nan why the zombies didn't attack him. Nan quickly realized that the oxygen masks weren't very common, so someone had given these masks to these troublemakers. In the blink of an eye, Nan disarmed the leader and asked him where he had obtained the oxygen masks. The leader revealed that he had traded them for supplies at the city center with the main group. While they were talking, the leader began signaling his men to take advantage of the situation and finish him off. They tried to attack him from behind, but Nan eliminated them in an instant using a submachine gun. Due to the sound of the gunshots, the zombies came and the group of survivors fled. Afterward, Nan headed to the Gemini building. He entered the building and took the elevator to the 60th floor. Upon reaching the 60th floor, he found a zombie devouring the captain's body. Quickly, he picked up an axe from the ground and eliminated the zombies to avenge his death. Upon inspecting his body, he found the building's blueprint. The captain's mission was to destroy a room in this building. Nan thought that room must be related to the T-virus, so he believed he could also find a way to save her sister. However, despite having this mission, the captain decided to resign so they could escape. Escorting Nan out of City F was a false mission. The main mission was to destroy the room. It didn't take long for Nan to realize that this was why the government had sent a team of soldiers with him. Upon reaching the 55th floor, Nan came across a pile of rats' bodies. All the rats had curved wounds on their heads and their brains were missing. He ignored the rat bodies and went to search for the room from the blueprint. After searching for a while, he stumbled upon the body of a scientist named Lancet. He was responsible for removing the brains from the rats. Now he was a zombie, but his infection state was very different from the other zombies because he had bullet holes in his head and had been killed by someone with a weapon. Nan picked up a scalpel from the ground and approached the nearest door. At that moment, he heard 3 heartbeats. Upon opening the door, he encountered 2 mercenaries and a tied-up girl. In an instant, Nan ended the life of the first mercenary. The second mercenary, upon seeing his companion fall, attempted to take the girl's life. Nan realized this and eliminated the mercenary using the submachine gun. The mercenaries wanted to eliminate the woman because she possessed highly valuable information. Nan freed the girl and noticed that behind her was a room filled with explosives. He quickly realized that this was the secret room that the authorities wanted to destroy. Upon entering this room, he found a container filled with rat brains connected to a parrot through a neural connection. This parrot was a biological remote transmitter. The parrot started calling Nan and told him that if he wanted to see the person behind the transmitter, he should head to the Kangjang University laboratory. As he left the room, the girl he had freed earlier picked up a pistol and began to threaten him. However, upon hearing his voice, she realized that he was the academic Yinan. She introduced herself as Chen Yue, a lead researcher at the Country H's Academy of Science. The men who had tried to take her life were mercenaries from Blackwater and City M, and there was only one consortium that could contact these mercenaries. That consortium was the 4-Star Consortium. Upon inspecting the body of one of the mercenaries, Nan found the certificate from the Research Institute. This certificate had the logo of the Kangjang University laboratory. Nan asked Chen why the mercenaries had kidnapped her, and she explained that she was the only person with the password to the Kangjang University laboratory. Even though the password was changed regularly, just before the virus outbreak, she was the last person to enter the laboratory. After the outbreak, she sensed that someone wanted her to be the scapegoat, so for her own safety, she returned to City F. Upon knowing that Nan wanted to investigate this matter, she asked if she could accompany him. The Kangjang University laboratory was a key facility established in City H. Nan told Chen that if she followed him, a certain death awaited her. He planned to go alone to find out what had happened. Seeing this, Chen shared the password, and in return, Nan provided her with supplies and a weapon to survive the remaining 6 days before the bombing. Upon arriving at the parking, he saw that all the cars in this neighborhood had been vandalized. The laboratory was 2 kilometers away, so he began searching for a functional car. In a nearby alley, a man visited a thug's house to exchange what he had for some food and a mask. The man had kidnapped his wife and wanted to trade her for some food. The thug agreed to the deal and gave him some food and a mask. Later, the woman was locked in a room with other women. In a street in City F, 2 men were discussing where they should go to find supplies. One of the men spotted Nan inspecting the cars, and according to their boss, any man looking for supplies had to be eliminated. So they quickly accelerated the van and headed towards Nan, but he reacted in time and began shooting at them with the submachine gun, seriously injuring them. Afterward, he asked one of them why they had attacked him. The man revealed that their boss had told them that any resident who went out into the street to look for food should be killed. They were responsible for destroying all the cars, and their boss was in the commercial building. Nan took their van and headed towards the Kangjong University laboratory. On the way, he realized he didn't have much fuel, so he changed his plans and headed to the commercial building to get more fuel. Upon arriving at the building, he quickly accelerated and broke the glass, causing the zombies to enter the building. Meanwhile, the organization's boss attempted to sleep with the woman he had exchanged for food. At that moment, one of his subordinates came to tell him that someone had rammed the gate with a car, and now the zombies were getting in. Upon hearing this, he ordered that the women be tied up and used as bait. After several minutes, the zombies reached the women, but just before they could attack, Nan eliminated them. He hid the women in a room to keep them safe from the zombies. Meanwhile, the group of thugs took this opportunity to head towards a car to escape. But Nan appeared in front of them with a horde of zombies and ended the lives of all of them. Then he got into the car, and the girl who had been kidnapped by the thugs thanked him for saving them. Meanwhile, the government advisors wanted to bomb certain buildings, such as the Kangjong University Biological Laboratory in City F, to prevent the source of the virus infection from leaking. But not everyone agreed, as it was too hasty to suddenly advance the bombing from 6 days to 1 day. So they started a vote, and most of the advisors agreed, except for the Hyundai Foundation representative, since according to him, it was not reasonable to make this decision, as there was still the possibility that there could be survivors. Upon hearing this, the representative of the 4-star group stood up and told the others that the expert team from the 4-star consortium had reviewed the city and had not found any survivors. The representative of the Hyundai Foundation told him that the experts from the 4-star consortium naturally produced the results that their representative wanted. Upon hearing this, more representatives turned against it. Now that the votes for and against were equal, the bombing was put on hold. The country's director ordered the representative of the 4-star group to send drones to survey and confirm that there were no more survivors before proceeding with the destruction and reconstruction of the city. On that same day, many drones arrived in City F, and upon seeing the drones, the remaining survivors were happy and tried to get the attention of the drones. But instead of helping them, the drones began to eliminate the remaining survivors. In total, the drones eliminated 2,857 people. One of the subordinates of the representative told him that the survivors had many relatives in City F, and those relatives were now protesting in front of the government building. He didn't know if they were really doing the right thing. The representative told him not to dwell on this matter too much, as they were doing this to eliminate the virus. Once they destroyed City F, they would be considered saviors. He ordered his subordinate to go personally and take care of the complete destruction of the biological laboratory, and also to send someone to pay a little visit to the representative of the Hyundai Foundation, since he didn't like the behavior he had at the meeting. Tonight, the King Jae-yang laboratory was going to be erased from the face of the earth. Meanwhile, Nan finally reached the entrance of the underground institute. This place hid a secret that the ministry wanted to destroy, and after several minutes, Chen also arrived at the institute in a car, and as she approached the laboratory's entrance, she felt a deep fear because of his memories. She began to have a headache and knew that her memories had been erased, so she thought it was better to hide instead of going down the stairs. In one of the rooms of the underground institute, a group of survivors was being led by a girl with a gun. Along the way, one of the boys accidentally dropped a test tube, but just before it could hit the ground, the girl stopped it and told the others to be more careful. As far as she knew, the center of this place was an ecological self-recycling experiment, so there were enough resources for them to live for a year even though the roads were blocked. They had a rescue team that would be back soon to pick them up. At that moment, a dog infected by the virus appeared in front of them. Nan entered the underground laboratory, and a camera recognized him and opened the door for him. He was being remotely monitored by the same person who had sent him a message through the parrot. After walking for a while, Nan reached the same room as the group of survivors, who were frightened by the mutant dog. In the blink of an eye, the dog tore off the arm of one of the survivors. Nan quickly appeared and eliminated the dog using a dagger. He noticed that the girl had the laboratory's logo on her badge, so he thought she must know what had happened. At that moment, more mutant dogs appeared and tried to attack Nan, but they were taken out. Then, they moved to another room, and the girl asked Nan if he could protect them in exchange for the location of an ecological base with many resources. Thanks to one of the diaries, Nan discovered that the T-virus infection had been in this laboratory for a long time. The longer a subject was infected, the deeper the mutation became. The zombie dogs had amazing abilities because they had been infected for a long time and were still in the initial experimental phase. The subsequent development in humans should not be confused with that of the dogs. So, there was no need to destroy City F to prevent this. Since the senior managers and executives were afraid of the virus, this could be the perfect time to get his revenge. Nan agreed to cooperate with her, but on the condition that from now on, they had to listen to him and follow his lead, or else they would die. After this, they headed to the main laboratory. Along the way, the girl asked Nan if it was true that they were going to bomb City F even though there were many survivors. According to what Nan had heard from the soldiers, the city was going to be bombed in a week because the survivors were no longer considered human by the senior managers. As they proceeded down the path, the doors began to open automatically. Nan told the girl that someone was watching them in the central area. The girl thought it was impossible since she had been the one to activate the emergency security switch in the central area before the accident, so now there was a vacuum and there couldn't be any living beings. After several minutes, they reached another room and the door opened again. Nan decided to go in first to check the area, but as he entered the room, the door closed behind him. The mysterious man behind the security cameras turned out to be a brain in a vat. Meanwhile, outside, drones began to bombard the exterior of the institute, and amid the explosions, the survivor rescue team managed to enter. They realized that someone else had entered the underground laboratory, and as they descended the stairs, they saw the silhouette of someone. This silhouette belonged to Chen. Upon seeing her, the leader of the survivor rescue team realized she was a researcher from the institute, so he reassured her, telling her not to be afraid as they were the survivor search and rescue team. They quickly entered the laboratory as the drones were approaching. Along the way, they saw all the bodies of the mutants that had been eliminated by Nan. Seeing so many mutant dogs, Chen didn't know if Nan was still alive. The leader told her that the dogs infected with the T virus had killed many of his men in a single night, so it was impossible for Nan to survive. She was frustrated since Nan had managed to survive 2 armed mercenaries, whereas a task like this was impossible for a normal person. Inside the laboratory, the brain told Nan that he knew about the bridge incident and also knew that the senior managers were massacring the survivors of City F like ants. Immediately, Nan realized that the brain was one of the first infected by the T virus. He asked him why he had brought him to the laboratory. The brain wanted Nan to help him restore a body for him since in his current state, he was worse off than disabled individuals. In exchange for rebuilding his body, he was willing to revive Nan's little sister. Nan didn't believe this, so the brain told him that he had been gathering information about the T virus, and the information he had was essential for his sister to be revived. Nan approached and revealed his own conditions in return. Anyone who worked with the brain would become the primary target for the H country's search, which posed a significant danger. If Nan worked with the brain, both he and his little sister would be in danger, and the resurrection of his sister would be hindered. So he thought that if he didn't take the brain outside, his experiment would succeed. Upon hearing this, the brain asked about Nan's conditions. Nan revealed that the first condition was that he wanted to conduct research on the brain to understand how special it was, as he believed there must be important information in its memory, and by accessing its memory fragments, he could also determine if it was lying. The second condition was that he wanted his sister to be resurrected as quickly as possible as compensation for putting them in danger. The third condition was that he wanted help in researching a way to inoculate the T virus to allow it to evolve while maintaining intelligence. He planned to use the survivors of the city to build a biochemical body for the T virus, intending to use the survivors to counter the senior managers. At that moment, the brain realized it had found an extraordinary person, so it agreed, but with the condition that Nan must help it rebuild its body. Nan was afraid to let it obtain a body because it was like releasing a demon, so he thought it was better to delay the process of rebuilding its body for as long as possible. Nan told it that if it tried to deceive him, he would throw it into the depths of the sea to leave it in total darkness and solitude. This was a slow death and was 1,000,000 times more horrible than the physical death for the brain. Nan left the room with the brain container, and he sensed danger and told them to remain silent because there were drones equipped with missiles outside. The door of the underground institute could not withstand that kind of firepower, so he told them to go to the deepest laboratory, which was nuclear-proof. As they headed to the deepest laboratory, the brain began to sense that a group of 6 men and a woman had reached the laboratory door. Nan thought it was Chen, so he told him to open all the doors in their path. Using his powers, the brain began to open all the doors. The drones began to bombard, and Chen and the rescue group began to open the door of the underground institute. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't decipher the password. Still, the captain gave a strong punch to the door, and suddenly the door opened, and they all entered. Upon entering, all the other doors began to open. Seeing this, the rescue group thought they were having a lot of luck. However, Chen realized it wasn't luck but knew that Nan was behind this. In City F, the drones also began to bombard everything, and among the debris, there was a hidden girl. A drop of zombie blood fell on the girl's arm and started mutating until it caused an explosion. The girl awakened a new power, and she changed completely. Then, she emerged from the rubble. Upon detecting a human, the drones attempted to attack her, but with a glance, she eliminated the drones using her new powers. In the underground laboratories, Nan connected the brain to a cerebral research team and started experimenting, causing him a headache. According to the brain, the drones belonged to the 4 Stars Consortium. Nan asked if this laboratory had also been constructed by them. The brain informed him that it had accessed the drone's database but couldn't find anything related to this laboratory. The 4 Stars Foundation was the most powerful organization in Country H and was kept secret at all times. They even had a complete cerebral research team. The person who had built this laboratory was not an ordinary person. Using the brain, Nan created a combination of antibodies and the T virus called the G virus. This new virus didn't produce the same negative effects on the human brain as the T virus. The G virus could accelerate evolution, unlock the human genome, and allow infected individuals to develop supernatural abilities. Nan thought he could use it to resurrect his sister. The brain warned him that once the genome was unlocked, the human body might not withstand the immense power and could collapse. However, Nan was willing to use it because if he could keep a person subjected to all the mutations alive, they might be able to make the body withstand without collapsing. The brain started looking for a test subject, and after a while, it found a peculiar zombie in the neighborhood. In Country H, the 4 Stars group called a press conference. They showed the citizens how the rescue team had gone to look for survivors in City F. The group's representative stated that they had used more than 2,500 search and rescue drones, and after 12 hours of searching, they hadn't found any survivors. He apologized to everyone, and many people began to question why they were wasting resources searching for survivors when the search experts had already declared that there were no survivors in City F. Seeing this, the representative began to cry and told them that from now on, the search and rescue mission would stop and the reconstruction of the city would begin. With these words, he won the hearts of the people. However, at that moment, a citizen climbed onto the stage and told him not to abandon the search because his girlfriend was still in City F. The citizens were not pleased with the citizen who had taken the stage, and among the crowd was an elderly woman who didn't know what had happened to her daughter. The subordinate of the 4 Stars group representative told him that after the announcement this afternoon, the families of the survivors had disappeared and the public supported the plan for the reconstruction of City F. He also informed him that the King Jong University laboratory had already been reduced to rubble, and now only the cleanup of the surroundings remained. The representative ordered him not to leave anyone alive and to destroy the data storage points in City F. In the underground laboratory, the brain had detected a small girl of the same age as her sister. Now that there was a chance, Nan planned to capture the living mutant to make a new optimization in the G virus. Despite the drones outside, Nan was willing to take the risk because he couldn't allow her to be eliminated. She was currently in the basement of a public housing complex in the university city. Since Nan had T-virus antibodies in his body, and his physique had evolved to the point where he was now stronger than an average person, he had planned to inject himself with the G virus. The brain tried to warn him that if he injected the virus, the infection process would be very painful, and if it failed, his body would explode into pieces. Despite knowing this, Nan was willing to take the risk, so he went to an isolated chamber so that the energy from the G virus wouldn't affect the brain. He injected the virus into his neck, and his body began to react to the virus. His screams reached the rescue team, and they began to follow the sounds. After a few minutes, they arrived at the room and encountered the girl who had a gun. Chen asked her about Nan, and she guided them to the laboratory where the brain was located. She explained that the brain was not a bad guy because it had brought them to the underground facilities and had been the one to open the doors for them. Upon hearing this, the leader of the rescue group thought that all the zombie dogs had been killed by the brain. The girl revealed that even though the zombie dogs could massacre an entire team of survivors with weapons, Nan had eliminated them using only a dagger. At that moment, the door to the isolated chamber began to open, and the high-energy reaction alarm started to sound. The girl approached the brain and asked for an explanation. The brain informed them that Nan had injected himself with the G virus, which was a new type of virus that Nan had researched using the T virus. The captain of the rescue group intended to kill him since he was an infected person, and sooner or later he would become a zombie. Slowly, the door opened and Nan emerged from the isolated chamber. The captain and his men began to shoot at him, but in the blink of an eye, Nan dodged the bullets and disarmed them. Now, the quality indicators of his body were above the ordinary, and as the infection deepened, his physical abilities would continue to increase. The brain was curious, so it asked if he had awakened any powers. Nan explained that due to the antibodies, the G virus in his body had a lower level of cell binding. Currently, only 30% of his cells had been modified, but after the G virus multiplied and transformed all his cells, he would awaken a power. Chen asked Nan if he planned to inject them as well. He couldn't stand idly by, as he had come to save people. Nan told her that if he were her mentor, the first lesson he would teach her would be to resist. He advised her not to follow his path, as those who resist only die with dignity. These words moved Chen, and now she was willing to help him with injections of the G virus. The moment she had seen the drones, she realized they had been abandoned by Country H, so now their only option was to stay by Nan's side. Nan approached her and told her she was braver than he thought. Now, they all had only one choice to survive. It wouldn't be long before Nan could improve the G virus so that ordinary people could tolerate it. Since the G virus improved physical condition, he intended to rely on the virus to unite all the survivors so they could rebel against Country H together. The survival rate of G virus infection was 80%. The captain thought this probability was not a bad bet, so he told the others that when the first injection was developed, he would be the first to step forward. Upon hearing his words, the others also agreed to use the injection.